6 or 8 hours different. Google that. Send email. Tidy kitchen.
It's only 2.
Dog for walk.
I've got an hour left in me. I can do that other podcast. I can record that.
Time for reading.
Career life.
Well, hello.
Hi there. How's your day going?
So lovely to hear
Just
your
getting your
voice.
chart up.
Well, it's back to normal for Laurie and Matilda.
We're back at it. Well, I don't know if it's normal, but we're back.
It's been a hell of a couple of weeks, though.
Hasn't
I just feel like it's never ending at the moment. And you've been struggling. Yeah, and you've been struggling with the jet lag, which is added on top of it.
It wasn't just jet lag, though. It was like my schedule was so full. There was no rest. So I couldn't tell you if I was fuzzy-headed because of the jet lag or because I worked and slept. I do not remember the last week. It literally, like, oh, hey, today was the first day off I've had since I landed.
Yep, and what are we doing? We're recording the Sassy Seers.
We are, but that's okay.
We did miss a week because both of our schedules were well overloaded.
Yeah.
I did tell you, though.
You did.
I did.
But I didn't screw anything up, though. Not really.
No,
it all worked out.
You missed one appointment.
But they rescheduled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I do have 2 readings I have to reschedule, but I screwed those up before I left. So
Right.
because I made decisions and took action during Mercury retrograde because I'm a professional astrologer.
Yeah.
I do things like that.
We had a lot of that going on, though. We honestly did have a lot of that going on.
Shit happens.
Mhm.
It's life happens. It was not the worst thing ever on the planet. Like in the scope of the entirety of my life, those are good problems.
Yeah. With jet lag, I always find you wipe a week off your calendar. There's nothing you can do about it.
No. It's like I finally don't feel fuzzy headed, so I know the jet lag is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a nap today though, and I don't normally nap, but I was so tired.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, I tweaked my knee, and so my knee was a bit sore because I did a little walk.
Yep.
But I've been losing weight, and I'm like, I don't want to not keep losing weight.
I know it's really hard when you're actually exercising and you have to stop because,
and I'm like, it's not going to help my knee if I don't keep losing weight. So I was like, and I'm very excited because I'm wearing pants I couldn't wear before I left.
Woohoo!
I know, and they're linen pants.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I like that. That's good. Well done.
Thank you.
But I have felt caged because I can't walk at the moment. So
that's hard.
It's hard. It's annoying. I'm frustrated. I do have a walking pad here that I'm going to use intermittently. Good. I just don't want to be stuck somewhere, go on a walk and then be stuck somewhere.
Oh God. Yeah. No.
And I also live on the top of a very, very big hill.
Oh, that's my issue here. I'm on a hill. And so I made my boyfriend take me to the park today. He took me for walkies. I was like, take me for walkies. Especially with the way my knee's been acting up. I don't want to do it by myself. And so I was like, take me for a walk. And he's like, what are you, a dog? I'm like, yeah. Woof, woof.
Just do it. Don't question. Just do it.
Yeah, you'll find out.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I had my first back surgery going back about 15 years, and I would start going out for walks on my own, and there was a couple of times when I got too far and thought, I can't get back. And when you're in the heat or whatever, I'd have to phone someone to come and get me.
Yeah.
But my children won't walk with me.
No.
Because they're not children and they don't do what they're told when they're adults. And they said they'd walk with me when I need a wheelchair and they can push me down a hill. They didn't really, but yeah. But yeah, I do empathize with you. It is tough, but I'm glad you got a nap today because naps are life.
I do not nap much. But when I nap, you know, and it was a good nap. I drooled.
I said that to you the other day, didn't I?
You did, right? You're like, I get this text from Matilda and it says, I dribbled. And I'm like, I was like, that's a little personal.
We had worked this weekend. We had a big weekend, didn't we?
We did.
And one of those was a very big prediction event early on Saturday morning, which was 10 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And
your time. Yeah.
My time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my birthday. And I had to get up early. I had to get myself looking reasonably human. And then
you looked lovely. You looked lovely.
Thank you. And then we had to we didn't have to. We thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great event.
It was a great event.
It went a lot longer than we had planned because there was a lot more information than we had planned. And I then went and napped for 3 hours. I was so tired.
Well, yeah. Because somebody who happens to be an astrologer didn't look at the astrology on those dates, or at least thoroughly, because we were both on the run when we were making those decisions.
Yes.
And the moon was in Pisces. And for those of you who understand astrology, they are now chuckling with us. But that would make anybody who's psychic, even without Pisces placements, be extra receptive. And so I'm very energetically sensitive. I could feel the fire hose that she was getting across the world, like across the interwebs. I am feeling like if you watch the playback, I'm sitting there with an amused smile on my face.
And I'm trying not to watch it because I'm so embarrassed.
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. You were brilliant. You were really, really good. But I just kind of sat there. I'm like, she's just going to keep going because she's just going to, I'll speak up eventually when she asks. She's just on a roll.
God.
And there was but you couldn't help it.
I couldn't help it. And it happened, but it was like a balloon had been let out. You know, when the air comes out of a balloon, when we had wrapped up and I ate a whole pizza. It was a really good pumpkin and feta cheese pizza.
Oh, yeah.
I shoveled that in my mouth. I was so hungry. And I thought, I'm just going to watch this. And that was it.
Well, I'm not surprised because, again, I could just feel it was a lot of energy. And then the next night, well, not the next night, but but I had an event that night. Did, yeah.
I got up, I got ready, and then I hosted a live mediumship event.
You're lucky the moon was in Pisces that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was a lot.
We need a scheduler because I don't know what we were thinking.
Yeah, I don't. And then I was up at midnight on the 5th.
And we did it all again.
And I have, and I had to teach 2 classes in the afternoon and then record my podcast. So it goes out on Monday. And I'm like, sure, I can do all that.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
Can I just say that scheduling is not our strong suit at this moment in time, because we keep doing this and we both have an individual podcast that goes out at the beginning of every week.
Yeah.
We have to do we don't have to, but we have social media, which is free, but we have to do content. I've got this week off just to create content for my Patreon because those guys are amazing and
absolutely.
I have to give them some content.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yes, scheduling has not been our strong point.
No, it hasn't. And I'm putting more focus on my Patreon in general. Anyway.
Absolutely. Me too.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to lie, social media, we've talked about this before. Neither one of us are in a creator fund. And it's more like a public service. And yes, it is a form of marketing. It is. It's a way for people to be introduced to us 100%. And I love everybody there. But since Patreon made free memberships, it's the same thing as following us on social media.
Absolutely.
And it's just, then you don't have to like scroll through every other thing to find us, you know. I went live today, even though it was my day off.
I did pop in and say hi.
Somebody said that you were there. And I didn't know if you were there or not, because I said hi, but you may have already popped out.
I think sometimes I'll see you on, I'll just sort of say hi, not to be rude, and then scroll on, because I don't want cross-contamination.
Right. No, same. It's
okay if we're doing a live together or we pop in to support the other person, but I don't listen to your podcast. Not that I wouldn't want to.
I don't listen to yours. I don't have time, and you don't have time to listen to mine.
And I'm not being funny, but if I'm going to listen to a podcast, it's going to be about murder or some true crime thing that needs to be solved, because I don't want to listen to metaphysical stuff when I'm on my days off. You know, there's nothing like lying in the bath with the candles on, listening about a murder.
Yeah.
Nothing more relaxing.
I listen to audiobooks or people telling stories or funny stuff. I listen to a lot of comedy.
Okay, I've never done comedy but I've listened to audiobooks, and the few that I have, I've become quite hooked, and I find them great for doing housework.
Oh, there you go. That's good. People do housework to ours too.
Do they?
I know. Well, at least mine people do. They'll tell me, because I found out that like somebody once in in my Discord, they were like, "Oh, you helped me get through my dishes today," or "You helped me do the laundry." So I started putting that into my podcast. Like, "Hey, are we driving to work? What are we doing? What am I doing with you today?" Like yeah, because it's really fun to know, you know. And so, like, I have to give a presentation to a bunch of podcasters tomorrow, and one of the things I'm going to point out is, like, you don't always know what your audience thinks about you. But when you get that feedback, I'm like, look, people have really shitty days and tune in to feel better.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's really important to kind of recognize, because it's hard to know. Like, I don't think people get it. We're doing this together now, but you're in your room by yourself, talking to a screen, pretending, hey, there's thousands of people listening to me.
I've never thought about the amount of people that listen, or I suppose what they're doing, because I always assume they're going to do it. I put a podcast on if I'm going to walk the dog, or if I'm going to have a bath, or if I'm trying to get myself going to do housework or do certain things. I usually, in my house, I have one of those Google Assist things, and that's usually playing dog music to keep the buff calm. That goes constantly. Someone asked me the other day, have you got church music on? I said, who are you talking to right now? Because it's not me.
Right.
But yeah.
So,
have you had much feedback about the event the weekend?
Everybody loved it. Everybody that said anything, they just really, really loved it. So
fantastic.
Yeah. I've had a few comments, both in the live streams that I've done, and then in Patreon, I had some comments, and they're like, "Oh my God, that was amazing!" So that was really fun.
So I'm glad that people got something out of it. And so it's back to normal service now that you're back from Bahrain.
I am.
How's the trip back?
Functional. So I did look at the astrology of my travels, because we had Mars moving into Aries, which makes everybody a little more spicy, but it makes me particularly spicy. And it's one of the reasons I could do the week the way I did it, because it was making connections to placements in my own chart that give you a lot of energy without the caffeine. But I knew if I traveled the day Mars moved into Aries, I would be a very chippy, spicy girl.
You would be spicier.
Yeah. And so I chose to go on the day that Mars was still in Pisces.
Okay.
Conjunct Neptune, meaning it was right next to Neptune. And that gives things like a kind of an Obi-Wan Kenobi, these are not the droids you're looking for, which is really good. Because on my way at the Istanbul airport, and you have to remember, I have a sore leg. I did not get the assistance that I had asked for, nor was it obvious for me because, again, I'm visually impaired. So I was visually overloaded. I was very tired, and I missed the help, that I was supposed to be getting. It's a really big airport. I had never been through that airport. And so I make it through freaking security. I get to the gate, and they do security again. Okay. I'm like, we already freaking looked at all of our shit. And now you do. So I'm tired. I'm cranky. And I'm a woman over 50 to start with. They pick me to pat down.
Okay.
Because I'm obviously at 5'5" and a middle-aged woman, the greatest threat to be able to enter that plane. And so they go, the woman luckily did not speak a lot of English, which is very good. These are not big time. Had this been 2 days later, my ass would have been in
in Istanbul.
In Istanbul, which is somewhere you never want to be. And so I put my arms out. And because she puts her arms out, and I've got a big smile on my face because I'm pissed off. When I'm angry, I smile.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. If I start grinning with mischievousness, it means I'm thinking like, fuck you, right? So she starts patting me down. I'm like, okay, go ahead, have a fun time with my tits because I'm obviously a threat. And she's like, have a good day. And I'm like, it was good because I don't think thank God.
She didn't speak any English.
Yeah. Because poor thing, because it wasn't her fault. She's just doing her job.
She's just doing her job.
But I get so mad at this bullshit in what's supposedly security.
They do. If you're flying through the Middle East, there seems to be an extra level of security because I've flown through the Middle East a lot. And you go through security at your exit, and then you go through security at your stop, and then you land. And
I'm a hell of a lot less scared of anything coming and going out of the Middle East than I am anything in the States. But I'm not scared of it, and it's to me it's a bullshit move. But anyway, it just is. It's
their country. It's their country choices, though, isn't it?
No. It's in traveling to the United States, and I had an issue at LAX too.
I have it when I come to Australia. It's exactly the same coming to Australia or going to Europe. So it's not just traveling to the United States. Anywhere through the Middle East, if you have a stop, you were double checked. It never used to be. I
didn't get checked again in Doha going to Bahrain. I got checked in Heathrow, but I did not get checked
in Doha
again in Doha to go to Bahrain.
I think it's individual.
It could be
airline or airport.
It could be, but it was just And it could be that country doesn't want to be responsible for something going to this other country, and I get that. But yeah, I kind of mouthed off at LAX too, and they patted.
What happened to LAX? Oh, leaving,
yeah.
Jesus, what do you do when you walk through an airport?
I always get pulled out.
Really?
Yep. I always get pulled out.
I have been pulled out once.
I always get pulled out. And that's why I get a little snippy, because I'm like, I have zero record of doing, I don't even have a speeding ticket on my record. Like, I am the most squeaky clean human being you've ever met in your life, and you're going to pull me out? And so the lady said, do you mind if I pat you down? I'm like, sure, as long as we're both having fun. Mm-hmm. Which she laughed.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I'm so tired of this. This is going to keep you safe. Alice Miller, who reneged her psychotherapy license, wrote a brilliant book. Do not ever read this when you're depressed because it will not help you. But it's called For Your Own Good. And it's all about the control mechanisms in society and how it created Hitler. But it's always, we're trying to keep you safe. And I just, the For Your Own Good stuff just drives me nuts.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes, but I've traveled a lot with my children. All right, so I've got two little redhead boys, and we've done international travel an awful lot. They're now adults. I can guarantee that one of my kids was explosive tested every flight, internal and external. So I don't know. It's a random test. I got pulled over. This is the fun part. I flew, this is going back a number of years, and I was in Amsterdam with a friend. I was over in Europe. At the end of my trip in Europe, I went to Amsterdam with a friend. We flew into Liverpool Airport in the UK from Amsterdam. I drove from Liverpool Airport down to Birmingham Airport, and I was flying out of Birmingham Airport because it's where the Emirates flights, I can do a link into Dubai and from Dubai to Melbourne. It's Christmas time. I had been wearing the same coat in Amsterdam that I was flying in. Do you know where this is going? And I have...
Had we been to the Bulldog?
We had been to various places. And I had a hand luggage bag with some Christmas presents that I had been handed as I was leaving that was still wrapped up. So I get to Birmingham Airport and I'm going through security and I get a sniffer dog hits me. Like that dog could have knocked me down with a feather. So everything I had on me had to be searched.
Oh, great.
Luckily, I explained the situation and said, I've just literally got off a plane from Amsterdam and I have been in various cafes in Amsterdam, and they after searching me and unwrapping said Christmas presents and everything was okay.
That was good.
But that was my fun experience flying out of Birmingham. And I was, fun fact, that was the flight that I got to the business class lounge, the Dubai Emirates business class lounge,
right.
And one of the Rolling Stones was there.
Oh, nice.
And I can't remember which one, but he was on my flight to Dubai.
Nice.
The one that everyone jokes about is still alive.
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards. Thank you very much. Yes.
Speaking of drug testing. Yes.
Speaking of drug testing, I was on a flight with Keith Richards and I was the one that was tested. Make that make sense.
Oh, God. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, my God.
But what is always amusing is the fact that when you're packing in a hurry, and I had an overnight bag that I'd put a lot of stuff in my big suitcase when I'd landed back in the UK, and they're emptying everything out of my overnight bag, which has got underwear and all sorts of stuff. Everything. Yeah. It's
all
always
the
embarrassing.
unmentionables.
Yeah, I knew. They're not going to find any drugs,
right?
But they found lots of underwear. So whatever rocks their boat.
Right. Oh, it's probably not the worst they've seen. So
I know. I've seen
that would not be a job I'd want. For all the inconvenience, though, can you imagine the stories those people have?
I have a story of a friend that used to work at Heathrow when people arrived, and somebody had a personal item in their overnight bag that was checked. This story would be 30 years old. Okay. And she was not a woman of the world, shall we say? And she had this item and she's waving it about saying, but where's the light bulb? Where's the globe? How do you switch it on? She thought it was a torch of a funny shape.
That would have been me. I would have been like that 30 years ago. I would have had not a clue.
Yeah, I would probably have been similar, but this woman was working in customs at Heathrow Airport.
You would have thought, yeah.
You would have thought that she knew what one of those looked like. And she was looking for how to switch it on and where the globe went or where the light bulb went in the top. I think
that's hilarious.
Ironically, they probably do light up ones now these days.
They do. I had a friend had a hen party, and this is years ago, and I didn't. This was part of my education because this is maybe 20 years ago, and I was invited to this hen party, and she starts opening up her gifts, and there were all kinds of fun, silly, sexy gifts and what have you. And she opens up this one. She goes, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And it was in the shape of a dolphin.
But why do you want to put a dolphin there?
I don't know. I don't
understand that.
I don't know, but it lit up.
That sounds more like a kid's toy than anything else. I'm sorry. A light up dolphin?
Except it did things.
I'm sure it did, but
I was more like, why is she so excited about that? You know, I'm like, what is that? And somebody goes, it's a... And I was like, I've read the word, didn't really know what it meant. So I was very naive about things. Until I started doing research, I thought one day.
But I hope your research has opened your eyes.
Oh, God. Yeah, I thought I'd write smut for a while, so I started doing research on things. And my internet search history is very interesting. And
I'm sure the FBI have been.
I'm sure. And I don't think they'd be like, "What the fuck is with this woman?" Like she's looking up spiritual concepts, weird toys, fetishes. And I was like, "What are the weirdest things you could write about?" Like without getting gross, because I was like, I'm going to write stories that are humorous but smutty. Did you? There's something called balloon porn.
What?
Yeah. So, and it's a real thing. But there are people who get turned on by having someone have a suit full of inflated balloons, and they pop them, and that is how they get off.
How did they work this out, though? This is what really did they find this out as a child when they were going to parties? How did they suddenly
That's a good question.
That's my fetish. I am now 35 years old and I get off on popping balloons.
You know what? I think that is a great premise for a book.
Can you Google that, please?
I could. You want it on my search history?
Yeah.
How did balloon porn start?
But how do people work out these fetishes? It's, and I'm not fetish shaming anyone because
it's not a shame. But it just the thing is that the one thing in the world, I'm like, I would just be like,
Maybe they are. Maybe they are.
Maybe that's what happens. But I'd be like, I'm so sensory overload that I'm like, how do you even relax?
It's like these furries that dress up in teddy bear suits and they have get-togethers and
they do
stuff like that. Listen, I'm a woman that's dated in her 40s and 50s. I've been affronted by so many fetishes.
Absolutely.
That always come out on the second date. It's like, well, I'm actually interested in women that can dress me in a nappy and burp me, or would you mind breastfeeding me? I didn't even like that the first time around.
Right.
Do you know that would always come out at some point, and I'd be like, block.
Yeah.
But I'm always interested when how do people discover?
How do they find out? Yeah.
This
I think they get bored. I think a lot of times people get bored and then they look around and they're like, oh yeah, that's kind of my thing. I had one.
I get bored quite often, but I don't go looking around finding strange objects to be attracted to.
Same. But I had a fellow invite me to his dungeon, and I am such a geek. Now this is like 1999, right? 1999. This guy, and I'm dating for the first time. I'm just out of my marriage, months, but still out of it. It's irreparable. It's done. And this person appeared to be normal. Okay. Appeared to be normal. Not that BDSM is a bad thing, but I'm just saying the dude didn't dress in leathers all the time,
No.
Okay.
Well, neither did Mr. Gray.
Right. He would have fancied himself a bit like that, but except he was into pain. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, he goes, this was fun because we'd gone out on more than a few dates. This was fun. I'd like to now invite you to my dungeon. My response is epic. I stand up and I jump, clapping my hands in a giddy fashion, going, D&D? I love D&D. Can I be a magic user? I was serious. And he goes, it's not that kind of dungeon. And I was like, oh, I'm not into pain. And he goes, but I am. And I was like, no.
That's where this friendship ends.
Yeah, we just both were like, he was horrified. I was. The look on his face when I was like, can I be a magic user? I really meant I didn't know. Oh my God. Yeah. That was my Saturn return year was interesting.
I don't know what I was doing my Saturn return year. I think I was just I haven't dated much for years, but I did meet a guy a couple of years ago. Like I could go 4 or 5 years ago. And we had so much. It was just one of those real, in your 40s and 50s, it's rare to meet someone that you have something in common with.
Yeah.
He was from London, the same as I. He had studied economics, the same as I had. He had been in Melbourne about the same length of time that I had. And I thought, yay, this seems really, really good. I think there was something a bit off, when you just, and we don't listen to our own intuition because
never.
We're quite stupid like that.
Yeah.
But we just, our own intuition, we think, oh, that's butterflies. That's really nice. Or, there's something more to this. He was a bit on and off, and I was fine with that because I wasn't really sure what I wanted, blah, blah, blah. And then he suddenly took off to Vegas to do a work thing. And it was quite funny because he was like really excited at the fact that I was a medium because he said my mum was really into mediums. I think it's really cool. And he was always very respectful. Like he'd send a text saying, can you chat? Because I don't know if you're in a reading tonight, blah, blah, blah. So he was always really respectful like that until I started to get a little bit of intuition. And I remember messaging him in Las Vegas and saying, are you oversleeping because of jet lag? Don't be late. And I don't know why I messaged it. I think it was a voicemail. Anyway, he phones me up later and says, how did you know I was oversleeping? He just didn't like that. But then the next night, I was messing around saying, have you been arrested yet? Because that's what happens in Vegas, right?
Right.
I was being my usual stupid self. And he comes back and says, well, I've actually had to speak to the police because I had all my cards stolen out of my wallet. How somebody steals cards out of wallets? I don't know, but he appeared to have all his bank accounts emptied. But his wallet was intact and still in his jacket pocket. So that was where I left the relationship. He didn't like the fact that I knew things that were going on around him when I wasn't there, and he became very uncomfortable. So, ladies, listen to your own intuition about people.
Always listen. Always listen.
I'm not very good at listening to my own.
Oh, hell, I didn't. And, you know, when I met my first husband, it was in university. And for the first day, well, not the first day, but like the second time I ran into him, when he thought he was too cool for school, jumped over a railing and sat down at the table I was at. I literally had a thought pop into my head, because that's often how my intuition works. I'll get a visual or a thought. And it was, stay away from him, he'll hurt you. And honestly, I did stay away. Like, he had to pursue me hard, and it wasn't because I thought that, you know, like I was like, that's a weird thought. You know, I was 18, so was I going to listen to anything anyway? No. And then I had gone to, because again, I had been introduced to spiritualism, which I wasn't like. I went to one church service at the Spiritualist church, and I was like,
nope.
Mm-mm. Not now. If you're into spiritualism, that's cool. It just was not for me. Okay, like I'm not into like. It's a good place to start. And it's a good place to start. It's not necessarily a good place to continue. Right. But I hung out with my spiritualist friends. Right. And I would go to events that were learning events. It's just the ceremonies and stuff. Like I don't like any organized. Ceremony.
Yeah, no, me either.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But there was like a psychic fair that I heard about through these people.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, and it was in Chelsea.
Ooh.
Or Kensington or Chelsea, or on the border. Fair. Well, there's a lot of spiritualists in that area.
Is there really?
And always have been. In fact, there's a psychic school there. There's a spiritualist church there. Yeah. And so there's a bunch of them in that area, or at least in the 80s there was. And so I went to the psychics fair, and there was one lady I was really drawn to. And I've always listened to that part. Like, if I'm drawn to somebody, I'll be like, oh, maybe that somebody has something to say, or they're interesting, you know? And she looked at me, and she basically brought in my great grandmother and described her like to a T, not just an old lady in an old lady dress, but got the lilac trees in the front yard, mentioned a dog she had owned before I was born, you know, things that nobody would really know, you know, described it very well. And she said, hey, she's really trying to warn you about something. She keeps shaking her head. And I think, she goes, are you engaged? And I was like, I am. And she's like, she keeps saying don't. She keeps saying don't. And I was like,
but I want to.
I'm going to go do this thing anyway. Yeah. Yeah. And that stayed with me, though, because she even described like a house we ended up living in. And like was literally like, hey, you know, your life might end up in danger, so pay attention to that, you know. So I listened, but I didn't listen. You know what I mean? It stayed with me enough. I have had
a lot of those experiences where people have said things. Now, this is an interesting thing, because I want to talk about this on how we receive predictions and things like that. I've had a lot of things predicted 10 years ago that have recently come into play, and I think I've talked to you about that.
Yeah.
I was told 12 years ago stuff that happened when I broke my toe and other stuff like that. But 20 years ago, 30 years ago even, I was told I would be working under a different name. I had no wish to be an actress, so I went, poo-poo, you're talking rubbish. I even had somebody 25 years ago tell me the name of a man that I got into a relationship with 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
He lived on the other side of the world, and it's a very, very, very unusual name where I was living at the time. Not so much in the UK. Told me that person's, and I said, I don't know anybody by that name. I was happily married at that time, but no, this person by this name is going to be incredibly important to you. It did not happen for 10 years.
Yeah.
But it was very specific. So just because a prediction is made as long as it's a specific detail. Timing is like a grain of salt on a grain of sand on the beach.
Yes.
The spirit. It's so difficult.
Yes.
You can nail it when we work together. We can nail it because of the astrological side of things.
Yep.
And I'm very lucky. Sometimes spirit will make a prediction, but it's a year off or 2 years off or things like that. But a lot of the predictions that we make have got there's no free will involved. So the world predictions. Can you put it into words?
So mundane predictions, and that's what that type of divination is called mundane. And that's worldly. So politics, seismic events, volcanoes, weather, none of that has free will. None of that has free will. Politics, it's kind of like a range of possibility and probability, but a much narrower window than an individual consciousness.
But when I'm doing a prediction, I get like a bird's eye view. So I don't necessarily see all the steps to get to the prediction, but I see the prediction.
Right. And so in mundane, you'll get a lot more specificity because there's less wiggle room. And with people, like if you look at and this is the way I describe the future, it's like a tree with many branches or a computer program. If you're doing this, then this happens. If you do this, then this happens.
Yes.
Every decision you make
plays a part.
Plays a role.
Yeah.
And so, and then there's like, what frequency is your consciousness expressing on? Are you super receptive? Are you more resistant? Are you more resistant in that moment? Is it going to take 5 times before that comes to it?
And have you learned the lesson that spirit are trying, the universe are trying to teach you? Because we do all have lessons. And we have to make the decisions that are best for us. Because if we're going to continue to butt our head one way, and the universe is trying to push us to go to the other way, we're going to suffer. We're going to not get the job because we haven't done the work, or we haven't done the affirmed action to work on ourself to get into that relationship that's going to last. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I prefer to say we're here for a range of experiences, and some of those are more pleasant than others. I think lessons...
But lessons about ourselves.
Lessons is a really human point of view, and I think it's a good word to describe as a human being because they can feel like lessons, but I just don't believe that the universe is like handing out pluses and minuses and grades. You know what I mean? And I don't
believe on it in that. I don't believe on it in that way. But what I'm talking, learning experience. So let me give you an example. Okay.
No, I know.
About 10 years ago, I was getting a lot of calls from a group of people on, they had found me on a forum, okay? And they all wanted to know exactly the same thing. When is my boyfriend going to get back in touch with me, okay? And 95% of them, I was trying to explain during the reading and what their guides were telling me, you know what? He's not going to be in touch, but if you do X, Y, Z and you start working on X, Y, Z, you're going to have the opportunity for a really nice relationship at this point or at this point, whatever I'm showing by spirit.
Right.
None of them liked that. Of course not, yeah. I got trolled horrendously. And anyone that tried to go to my defense was accused of being me. It was just an awful group of human beings. Let's just say this group of people are not my client base because they're not very spiritual anyway, and they don't want to learn. They don't want to. They don't want to learn by experience. They want the person that's rejecting them, and they haven't worked on their self-esteem, and they haven't worked on what they are deserving of. But they also don't want to hear that they deserve better because they want to hear that they're going to get.
Well, they're very entrenched in their social cultural programming. Yeah, they're absolutely in that transactional consciousness. Yeah,
but they decided they were going to hurt me because of that.
Well, yeah, because that's
what they've done.
That's a program response.
Yeah, and that's a programmed response. But some people have had readings with me where they've been in the midst of a divorce or being rejected and felt horrific. And when I've given them what their spirit guides have given to them and the guidance that they've got, they've taken that on board and they've changed their life.
And they've changed their life. Absolutely. And that's where you're using your agency. Absolutely. 100%. But it's kind of like doing life the hard way or the easy way. And the easy way is letting go and leaning into
But
it.
if you phone me up and all you want are predictions and you want the answers instead of the
tools.
Guidance and the tools, predictions happen in a reading. That's just a natural course of things. But if you are just wanting predictions, then I am the wrong person for you. And
well, even I can tell you, even in an astrology reading, depending on what's going on for that person, I can see a time period where, hey, look, this is where you're at. You're in an incubation phase. There's not a lot of movement for the next year.
Yeah.
You're going to feel really stuck. You're probably really frustrated. That frustration serves a purpose. It's helping you get clear.
Yes.
You know, and then these are little windows of opportunity that might come along the way. None of it's going to work out the way you want it to in the moment because it's helping you get clear for this next stage down the line. And I can't tell you exactly what's going to manifest from there because you're in the middle of the incubation phase.
Yes. I mean, I see things different. Obviously, we have different modalities.
We come at it from different angles.
But I always know the ones that don't want to, they just want the answers. They want to know that by next week it's all going to be okay.
Right.
And some of them are just like, when's he going to contact me? When's my next point of contact? And they are handing their power over to someone else. Whereas I'm all about empowering people.
Same. Yeah. Same. I had a client and it would have been a cultural mindset about divination. Okay. Where in that culture, they go to people for that very reason. You go to the wise person, you go to the seer, the oracle, and they'll tell you what to do. And that is not my MO. I never talk about spirituality that way. In fact, I'm always handing people their power back. I don't want your power. I got mine. I don't need anybody else's.
Yep.
And and it was a young girl whose mother had booked the session. And I could hear the mother in the background. Now she wasn't a young girl, but 20, right? And I could hear the mother say, "No, tell her this. When are you getting married?" And
no,
I said, "Yeah." She was pushing for that, and I said, "It's really important for you right now because there was no relationship transits," and I could hear her reticence, and I was like, in 3 years, maybe, because I was like, that's about the closest I see it, is you might meet somebody that is serious partner. And then until then, this is the focus, and it wasn't a lie. It's just, but I phrased it because I knew her mom was listening. And I was like, oh my God. And I could hear this poor kid going, and then I've had a few clients that have wanted that,
I get
to tell them their lives, and I won't.
I get quite cranky when people go, "What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next?" And they're not interested in taking on board what their guides are telling them, because we're here for advice.
Yeah, we're the guides.
We're the guides.
Yeah.
So
I'm not here to be a sage. And in fact, I even have that up on my FAQ. On wokeastrology.com, we have an FAQ page. It talks about every reading, what's involved in the reading. You have it on your readings, and people get excited and don't read. I get excited and sometimes don't read descriptions when I click a button, but it's really important, guys.
And we also know that people don't read the instructions when they get confirmation for their event.
Yeah.
Because how many struggles did we have on Saturday morning with people saying, "I didn't get the Zoom link"?
Yeah, that happens. That happens. That happens. It happens. The internet's been around since 1988. Did you know that?
I have a fair idea, yes. I had a fair idea that it's been around since 1988. And I used to work when I was at university at a place that we used to have to send faxes to confirm hotels.
Yeah.
And telex. Do you remember telex machines?
Oh, I remember telex machines, yeah.
Yes.
I remember the ticker tapes, too.
Yep.
Yep.
And microfiche.
Oh, microfiche, yes.
Yes.
And film.
I need to find this old document, so I'll go down in the dungeon. We're in dungeons again. And find this file and bring it up. And
I used to love doing research with the microfiche. I felt like a detective.
I know.
It was great.
See, I spent half my life in a library, so
I love that. Yeah,
I'm with you with that
too.
one.
Yeah, smell of old books.
Yes.
Did you know there's a perfume that smells like old books?
Really? Is it a perfume?
It is. It's an actual perfume.
Wow.
It's made up to smell like old library, so you can like spray it. You don't have to put it on you. Although I don't know if a man wanted to catch me, just spray a little of that on your tweed.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, a perfume, but I think I'd like a man that smelled of that.
Right. Well, cologne, perfume, but a fragrance. A fragrance, and I would be okay with it. I'd be like, yeah. But it's like, hit me up with the old book smell.
Yeah, I find that incredibly attractive. My favorite actor, and he used to be called the Thinking Woman's Crumpet in the UK, is a guy called Neil Pearson. He was in the Bridget Jones movies, but he was in the Below the Line, I think. So he was like a detective that investigated detectives. Anyway, he was called the Thinking Woman's Crumpet. He has an antique bookshop in London. It is on my list to go. I sent you the link to go, but you never got a chance.
I never got a chance. I'll have to go back to London.
But I will just go just to stare at him. Next to Johnny Depp, he's my next husband.
There you go. You're just line them up.
I'm just
You're next. You're next. You're next.
And this is from a woman that lives in the middle of nowhere in country Victoria who doesn't leave the house from one week to the next.
We all have to dream. We all have to dream.
Well, I was going to go later this year, but I'll probably be in London next year now.
Yeah. Next year's probably better travel-wise. I don't know how great things are going to be for travel.
It's going to be interesting, especially. Well, I'm not. I'm even worried about the middle of this month. To be fair.
Well, yeah, starting next week. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, for anyone traveling, stay safe.
Yeah, be safe, be well.
Be aware.
Be aware. And be ready for travel delays. Just be ready.
And lots of travel delays.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, so what are we gonna? We're actually gonna record the next one.
We are going to record the next one. I think we'll keep it as a surprise, but I think it will be a bit of a jovial one because next week might be a little bit heavy on the energy around the globe. So
next week is a shit show, people.
Okay. All right. Okay, I was trying to keep it a little bit calmer.
No, it's all effed up. And everybody's going to go, and it'll be okay.
It'll be okay.
Do you know? It turns out.
What? I had a bit of a psychic flash.
You did.
And, well, apart from the one that I sent you the other day, next week feels like there's going to be one death after another, after another.
Yes.
And it's
I think we're going to see some world leaders involved in that.
And it just feels like everyone's dying. Not like a mass.
It's not everybody. It's see, we're not all going to die, Matilda. Not today, not on my watch, damn it.
I didn't mean it like that. But it feels like there's world leaders dropping dead at left.
Yes. Yeah. It's very, 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 very historic. Here's a hint. World War III is not going to happen. It'll feel like it, though.
I do think it will feel like it, and I think there'll be a lot of fear-mongering. So try and stay calm.
So next week's episode of the Sassy Seers is humor and light and
light entertainment.
And we're doing that for your own good.
Yes. This is our Deep and Heavy, where we tell everyone that all the world leaders are going to die. No, not all of them, but there's going to be a chunk
enough of them. If not dead, deposed, coups, weird shit. Weird shit. Like a lot. Like, and you'd be like, Laurie, Matilda, 2024 has already been a lot. And we're like, it's just getting started.
It's just getting started. And I think there'll be some public events as well.
Very.
Like, I feel like a world leader may take a turn in public. So we're just going to leave that there for you. But next week we may talk about, like, as if we haven't talked about enough this week. We've talked about dating, dungeons, vibrators. Anything else you'd like to include in that?
Well, I did talk about my boobs getting papped down.
Oh, yeah. You got touched up at the airport. Cool.
I got touched up at the airport.
Gee,
we all had a good time.
See?
And I didn't get arrested.
This is my
for having I'm such a smart ass. I just don't like authority figures.
Yeah, I just think honestly, Laurie, I think the problem is you.
Probably.
Not them. You just don't like authority figures. And when you're feeling stressed and you're wound up and you didn't get your assistance and you've walked from one side of an airport to the other, the last thing you want is to be patted down.
I wouldn't be okay with it under any circumstances.
We don't have them here. We actually stand on something and our body is scanned.
See, they do that at LAX too. And they did that in Istanbul. I still went through. That's why I was pissed off. I was getting patted down. I've already been scanned.
You've been through the bio. Did you have underwires on?
Nope. No.
Well, maybe
I wasn't even wearing a bra.
I think they were just quite surprised that there was nothing there. You know how you complain that there's nothing there? They were just checking.
Like, does she have anything? There's plenty there. It's just not big, but there's plenty. And honestly, I don't care. You know, it's not a violation to me. It's just the fact that if you're going to profile somebody, then you're not very good. I don't feel safer with people profiling me because I am obviously not a threat.
But
if you're profiling,
but you actually don't
if you understand, I do. I was married to a law enforcement officer. That's not what you do. But yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're just, to me, it's just, and in fact, although there was somebody in line, because I was still cranky afterwards, and it was hot in there, and menopausal, cranky women.
Yeah.
And I'm sweating, like to the point where I needed my tissues.
Yes, I understand exactly why you felt the way you did.
Right.
But all I'm saying is that it's everywhere.
I get pulled over everywhere.
Okay.
But probably because I hate authority. But because I think control freaks are unnecessary. I think if we did things more effectively and efficiently and people weren't control freaks, people wouldn't get mad enough to want to resist. But that's just me. But anyway, they did not have a PA system. And we're calling people to line up to board, right? Hot, tired, cranky, pissed off. And couldn't hear because it's cacophonous. It's just noisy, right? Overstimulated and tired to be, right? And a little neurospicy.
If you were a toddler, you would be on the floor screaming at this point.
Yeah, I probably would have been.
Yeah.
And or at least like refusing to move. You know, I've just been like done. And there was this lovely lady in front of me, and everybody's trying to hear. And people are trying to be orderly, by the way. And nobody can hear. And I was like, well, without a PA system, attempting to talk at, regular volume makes it so easy for us to do what you say, people. And the woman looks around and goes, yeah, right? And I'm like, thank you. We had this moment where we were just like, what the fuck? I miss traveling in the 90s. I miss the risk of a hijacking because it was actually more effective and efficient travel back then than all of this kerfuffle.
I know, but it was your first experience of traveling in over 20 years. It was a lot. It has changed.
Yeah, and I'm not fond of it. That's one of the reasons I didn't travel. Was because I felt those security measures were ridiculous.
But they're there, and you don't have a choice. They're not changing. I'm sorry, they're not changing.
I just think they're dumb as fuck, and it's just unnecessary.
Why?
I think controlling people like that is unnecessary. I think you create more threat in the long run, and you create more instability in the long run. So I just do.
Okay. Well,
I just
we'll
do.
have to agree to disagree on that.
We will agree to disagree. I just don't think it's done for all the best reasons. And
yeah.
Especially when Boeing planes are falling. Like, if they can't take care of maintenance, like, oh no, a middle-aged person or an old lady in a wheelchair, I just think they're kind of going after the wrong people, and they do it to invoke fear. And I think that's what makes me mad.
Okay.
So,
I'm not going to take
that's
this
all.
any further.
I know. The neurospicy women is on a roll. Anyway, we'll be funnier next week.
We will be much funnier next week, but I find you funny now.
I am funny. At least looking. If you can't, if they don't find you pretty, they might as well find you funny.
Oh,
all right.
You're not funny looking. But we will be back next week with another episode of the Sassy Seers, and
back with a vengeance.
Because the Sassy Seer will have calmed down by then.
Sassy Seer's going to go make a cup of tea and cut down on the caffeine.
I think she might need to. We will see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.